In the heart of Rome, power ruled every stone and every street. Here, obedience was not requested, it was demanded without question. Rome measured loyalty by how quickly a man would bend. And in this city, one man chose not to. He was not famous, and history would barely remember his name.
Bow once and live.
Mercy in Rome was never free. It always came with a price.
I will not bow!
His answer echoed louder than any shout. Chains replaced conversation. And the streets watched in silence. These streets had witnessed thousands make the easier choice.
I have seen empires rise, and I have seen them mistake power for permanence. Rome believed strength could last forever.
Most of them surrendered long before the fire was lit. Most of them were wrong. The gates closed behind him with the sound of finality.
Just say the words. God will forgive you.
Temptation fades when conviction answers. Chains spoke louder than words ever could. Around him were others broken by waiting and fear. They had learned how Rome truly survives, not through justice, but through terror. Fear does not shout, it whispers softly. It promises survival in exchange for silence. It tells you obedience can be temporary.
You're not worth dying for.
The sentence was not meant to be fair. It was meant to be seen. Morning arrived, and with it, the crowd. They gathered for a lesson. Rome always taught its lessons publicly. Fire was prepared carefully, with intention.
My faith is not yours to command.
The crowd waited for fear. Rome always expected screams. But the fire rose without resistance. Flames climbed slowly, deliberately. And still the man did not move. There were no cries, no curses, only stillness. Silence unsettles power more than rebellion ever could. Faces shifted as certainty began to crack. Eyes searched for meaning in what they witnessed. The crowd did not understand what they were seeing. Ashes fell where voices should have been. Rome had just witnessed something it could not explain. By morning, Rome moved on as it always did. Ashes were swept away without ceremony. But memory does not obey commands.
They believed silence would end the story. They believed that once the fire faded, memory would fade with it.
Someone whispered his name in secret. In quiet rooms, symbols were drawn by trembling hands. Faith learned to hide without dying. Even Rome sensed something had shifted. Life returned to the streets. Rome believed it was finished.
Faith does not vanish when it is hunted. It learns to move quietly, to survive in shadows, and to grow unseen.
They gathered underground, unseen and unheard. Not boldly, but faithfully. Children learned symbols before they learned fear. Walls began to speak where mouths could not. Reports were written and warnings were issued. Orders traveled faster than mercy. Homes were searched in the darkness. Doors were broken in the name of control. Once again, Rome arrived too late. They learned to move quietly. They learned to pray in silence. Words were copied carefully by dim light. Truth travels faster when it is carried gently. Rome ruled the streets with iron, but not the hearts beneath them. Force increased and punishment multiplied. Yet belief only grew stronger. Every attempt to erase it carved it deeper. Even soldiers began to hesitate. They searched empty rooms with empty hands. Power was learning its limits. Faith does not stay where it is born. It walks beyond borders and fear. New cities heard old stories. One life became many. Years passed and empires weakened. But the stories endured. What was hidden slowly stood in the open. Thrones gathered dust.
Time forgets power, but it remembers conviction. Empires fall, but the choices made in silence endure.
Truth remained. What began in silence was carried forward. One spark became many lights. The world changed, but the question did not. If you had stood there, what would you have done? Tell us your thoughts.